Welcome to Voice Rising with Kara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Kara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body-mind-spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Kara Johnstad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising. Today, we are honored to be joined by a visionary teacher and shamanic guide with over 35 years of experience, Star Wolf. Star Wolf is the founder of Venus Rising Association for Transformation and Venus Rising University for Shamanic Psycho-Spiritual Studies and the creator of the transformative practice Shamanic Breathwork. And today we're going to be diving deep into her latest work, the Aquarian Shaman, Walking the Spiral Path of Transformation, exploring how we can awaken our shamanic consciousness and reconnect with the ancient wisdom of ritual, breathwork, and community. Star Wolf, it's truly an honor to have you with me today. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to share with you and everyone today.
I'm excited too. You have a brand new book. What does that feel like to have the Aquarian Shaman walking the spiral path of transformation out there for the world to enjoy?
Well, this is my lucky 13. This is my 13th baby, written baby anyway, and I'm actually working on a couple of more. But this one, I will have to say, is really special to me. They all are, but this really is, because this book was actually in my consciousness at least 15 years ago. And people have been writing about, the Aquarian conspiracy, the Aquarian, all these kind of things for 20, 25, 30 years. And so sometimes it takes a little while for something to come out the chute, if you will. Mm-hmm. But this Aquarian shaman energy is just something that's been percolating inside of me. And even though it was in my consciousness, and I've been writing about it for years, it just wasn't ready to be born until now. And at the time when it was, was coming out, it was getting ready to come out, I thought, I wonder why it took so long. And now with all the events that have happened here in the United States and all around the world, I'm going, it's because this is the time that the Aquarian shaman would be born.
What was your own personal turning point in your life when you listened to your inner voice and turned towards the path of shamanism, when you embarked on it?
We go through, I'm 72 now, and I've been on this path consciously. I believe I've always been on it unconsciously at some level, but consciously I've been on this path for more than 35 years. And during that time, as often is the case, I was going through a lot of different challenges in my life, personal challenges in my life. My marriage at that time was beginning a 20-year marriage. I got married young, was becoming, getting ready to unravel. My son was graduating from high school. It seemed like the world was exploding with the willingness to open up to different ways of thinking. And I had all this energy, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Cara, this energy just pushing through me, that wanting to come through into something else. But I wasn't really completely sure what that was. Because I'm a child of the 60s, I was born in 1952, but because I hit that place in the 60s and early 70s when, quite frankly, it looked a lot the way things do now. There was a part of me that was resonating, for the songs in the time of peace, love, harmony, and understanding and all that kind of thing. It felt like a spiral path. It felt like I had already been there and done that. And then somehow it got watered down or distracted, or people went back to sleep. But, for whatever reason, I didn't. I'm not saying that I don't have lapses in consciousness, but there was some way in which I feel like I didn't go back to sleep because I've dedicated my whole life to being either working in the mental health field, the addictions world, private practice, meeting shamanic teachers, meeting esoteric teachers, travels. And it's like I've been collecting my, if you will, Aquarian Shaman medicine and for the soul. And along the way, healing myself of different things and of, personal issues that I had, things like that. And so it took a while for me to really get to the place where I was able to fully own that. And that's a journey in of itself. There's the awakening, there's the return to what you know deep down inside and maybe even your own dharma. And then there's the place of fully coming back around and saying, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do, regardless of what anybody thinks about it or even what I think about it. This is who I am.
So share with us a little bit how the journey to become a Aquarian shaman differs from traditional shamanic paths, or what for you is the essence of naming it the Aquarian shamanic path.
Well, because the elders, and I've worked with different elders from different paths, and especially from the Seneca and Lakota, but and different elders, African elders, different elders that I respect. But for me, the shamanism as it has been on this planet, which is a beautiful tradition, many people say it originated in Siberia, and that shamanism originated from there. But I also know that shamanism, or if you will, medicine men, women, and actually other genders, because in the medicine world, in one tribe, there's like 15 different genders actually. So in all those places, there has always been a type of earth and cosmic energy that came together where on earth as it is in heaven, understanding that the great above influences the great below, and that there's this commerce, there's this conversation back and forth. And there's different ways you could describe that, and words you could describe that in any religion almost as well, probably. But this is something that I'm going to, at some level, assume has probably always been going on, not only here on this earth, but throughout the cosmos and interdimensionally, that there's conversations going on between the great mystery and between whatever creations are, developing. So that's ancient wisdom, that's been going on. And for those who have lived close to the earth and out underneath the sky, those very people who were so indigenous to this earth were also remembering their ancestors. Most of them remembered in their legacies and their stories that they came originally from the sky people. So there's this earth wisdom and there's this sky wisdom. And in the earth wisdom, there's more of the, Pachamama, Earth Mother, Pan, the grandfather, all these kinds of things. And the working with water and earth and fire and air and being in balance with our bodies that's made up of water, earth, fire, and air, and of all creation on this planet. Excuse me. And at the same time, there is also, I think, even, at least with the people that I've had the opportunity to be with, there's always a looking also to the stars, where they say the ancestors and where we originated from, which I truly believe. I think that we're not just made of star stuff, but we also remember. So at this particular time, in juxtaposition to the ancient wisdom, perhaps there's a future wisdom And of course, astrology teaches us this all the time. We can do progress charts of astrology and see what's happening, quote, in the sky. And even with our eyes, the things that we can't see that we can feel. And these are the heralding of the new dispensations or energies, not just from the planetary beings out there, but from, if you will, great mystery. That's what my teachers called it, great spirit or great mystery. And that astrologically, the map right now is showing us that we are entering fully, and we've we've hit it after all these years, Aquarius. And the only other thing I want to say about that is that, there was this kind of maybe innocent thought that when that happened, it'd be peace, love, harmony, and understanding, like the song. But we forgot
we know the song, don't we? Age of Aquarius.
Get out my mini skirt.
I love it.
But the thing of it is, what it really means is roll up your sleeves and take a deep breath and make the big O death and rebirth changes in our personal lives and in our collective environments and governments and all kinds of things that are going to shapeshift consciousness in mass, and which is going to happen if we're going to survive as a species and actually live the Aquarian age.
Exactly. I love that you're talking about having a conversation, because, of course, I'm totally passionate about voice. Talk to us a little bit about tuning into the voice of spirit, or maybe the sense that our guides are there and our ancestors are there, and at the same time we have the voices of the wind, the ocean, the waters. How do we start to hear the voice of spirit? How do we start to trust our inner voice in that conversation? What for you is your connection to your own personal vibration and voice? Like, what role does voice play in your own journey?
That's such a really good question, because if we can't hear our own inner voice, which is the voice of our conscience, but it's also the voice of something bigger. It's the ancient echo of the great spirit and great mystery of whatever you call it, God, Goddess, all that is, the creator, whatever, that has always been speaking to us. We think of it in a paternal way or a maternal way, God, Goddess, all that is. But whatever this ancient voice is, it is, to me, it is the echo of love. It is the place that we were birthed from. And I believe we were born in blessing, like Matthew Fox always said, that wonderful theologian, master teacher. I believe we were born in blessing, not sin. And that, it's silly to believe that a child is born in sin, and that comes later. But that we're born in blessing, and that there's been a conversation going on between the great mystery and our human self forever. It didn't begin with our birth. It will not leave with our death. That we have an eternal spirit, that we cannot get rid of energy. Science tells us that. The physicists tell us that. Matter just changes into a different form. You can't get rid of that. I grew up as a little Baptist girl, and in the Bible it says that whatever, basically whatever you are, you are. You can't get rid of yourself. It says not one cubit. And of course, I used to think, what is a cubit? But anyway, it's that the great mystery has already counted every hair on your head. That's how precious and how well known we are to the spirit or the creator that created us. The beautiful thing about that kind of creator having that much kind of power is that everyone is God's favorite child, which is awesome. Even when we've been bad, when we've been good, it's not like Santa, like checking the list. You're totally loved, and seen as just you've been misbehaving sometimes, so to speak. But I've had this awareness since my childhood. I had a very very indigenous kind of grandmother, for real, my biological grandmother from the old country. and, where we were barefoot in the garden and singing with the spirits and talking to Jesus at the same time. So, and to angels and fairies and, aliens and all kinds of things. So I grew up in this kind of environment, kind of protected environment, like the old story of Heidi, or what, up in the mountains with her grandparents. And that prepared me, I think, for, to go into the modern world, but to remember this truth that I knew as a child and came back around to. And, so it feels like it's always been with me. But then there was a time with some of the things that was happening in the world, similar to now, in my teens, like 18, 19, that sort of thing, and at the University of Kentucky, where I was studying to be a social worker, marching in the streets, various things. There was a time when there were assassinations and things that were happening, and there was so much disillusionment, and yet I look at that was a time when all these progressive things happened during that time around supposedly racial equality, women's rights, all these kinds of things. Those things did actually happen. That we're in a regressive place right now is one thing, but those things happened, and we're on a spiral path. And with this spiral path, we're ready for the next octave. And for me, that's where we wake up and say, I can't wait for an external force or God or a shaman to save me. It's time for me to remember who I am at this specific time on the planet, what my destiny is, what my contribution is.
I love that you said octave, because if anybody out there understands music, octave is the same. So you're in the spiral path, we're returning a little bit to a similar point, but absolutely different, but in unison. So it's the diversity and unison. I mean, it's unity and diversity at one point, right? So that's the fascinating thing about music, is that you can have an octave and it's the same. It's basically the double frequency, right, of the original tone, and that's feels like where we're at this moment in time, that everything has intensified. At least that's what I sense. It feels, I don't know what it feels like in North Carolina, but for me in Berlin, it feels almost like time is going so fast. It's so compressed in a way. So I'm so grateful for anybody out there who's doing rituals and meditations and breath work to give us the spaciousness and the grace that we need to navigate these times that we're in. And talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about your own daily rituals that you use to connect with your true voice and with your work, and with also the words that you share. You do a lot of trainings and teachings and have a lot of people in your community. How do you spend your days? What gives you peace to unwind in this spiral and at the same time stay so highly focused?
For me, probably the most important thing really is self-care, and that's on different levels. For instance, and what I mean by self-care for me, it means balancing the elements inside of me, the elements, water, the earth, my water, my blood, my body is
my
earth,
body.
air. Yeah. So to balance my own inner element, and then to realize and feel connected to the elements that are calling me in the outer world. For instance, I'm sitting here, in this energetic space with you, looking out at the mountains with the mist. There's the water, there's the beautiful clouds, there's the mountains with millions, literally millions of trees that are breathing so that I can breathe. I look out through these windows. I have all these bird feeders, and when the squirrels will share it with the birds, with all these amazing birds. And I've had them coming for so many years, and now their grandchildren are coming, and they know me. They know when I walk out there, I'm going to feed them. So they're all jumping and happy and There's a connection to that. I'm talking to them. I have bees now. I'm sure it's third and fourth or fifth generations. When I go out, the little fuzzy ones, they'll be out there and on a flower, and I can just walk up and pet their head, and they literally, I feel like they look up at me and smile, and they just go, keep on feeding. Hummingbirds that will land on my fingers, things like this. I feel like Snow White. I love it. But inside I have a wood fire, and this year we've lived it's been quite chilly this year. This comes from our trees that have fallen in the woods, and we have this wonderful heat that just warms the bones. I can just feel it right now where feeling that energy. So there's that fire, and it's like reminding me that there's that, the summer will return here. We have beautiful summers, but that the fire, is like in that wood stove. It's like it's inside of me. I can feel that, I can step out on my deck and take a deep breath of that beautiful fresh air. It's just so clean, and feel it, that you don't always feel when you're in a city or in an airport or artificial air. We leave a window open year round to let fresh air in, so, and we have fresh spring water here. Our water is not treated. We have beautiful wells. So our water it's the number one reason I hate to leave my home is because of water. It's hard to drink water out of plastic bottles or, in a restaurant where you can taste the chlorine or any of those kinds of things, or wash your body or your face with those things. It stings me now. So I live in a, very elemental world, and it makes me constantly aware of my elemental body and the state of my elemental consciousness. Like, am I feeling fiery and feisty, or am I feeling really, watery and contemplative? And some days, how that is, regardless of how I'm feeling, I still need to do certain things in the world that I've committed to. And so I can raise up that energy for a time and bring that element in and work with it to be able to show up in that way. So for me, the spiral path is about being able to walk the elemental path of constantly, just like we breathe over and over and over and over, that, every few seconds, minutes, that we are constantly, like the weather, we are constantly changing, and to learn how to let that flow through us and not try and hold on to one state of consciousness, to be comfortable with the continuing shape-shifting of altered consciousness.
To become comfortable then also with these minute changes that are always taking place. And what you said at the beginning of the show was, in these times that we're in, do you think that is one of the keys to going through these times with grace and ease, that many people are just hooked in to thinking it's, let's say, I don't want to get too political, but let's say it's just like this, and not realizing that all these people that we're creating a community, a global community, a humanity connected to the sky and the earth and the animals, and all of us are shapeshifters, and all of us have our truth. So we're more like a kaleidoscope, and the more we allow that spaciousness with each other, probably the quicker we're going to come into that place, the Aquarian age of peace and harmony and well-being. Can we see it like that? Instead of seeing that somebody's just a monster, we could say, oh, he's quite fiery in the moment. Maybe I should offer him some gentle spring water instead of some hot breath.
Well, we're certainly a diverse group of collective beings that is, sometimes perverse, but we are definitely diversity, and, I was just thinking about the argument, even, as you said, not to get political, but the reality is we are political. Everybody's political at some level, and that's okay.
At some level.
And that's okay. I know I'm thinking about grandmother Twyla, my wolf clan grandmother, who said, everybody's got a sacred point of view. Everything that they think is sacred, more sacred than everybody else's. So, but there are many spokes to a wheel. And it
Right.
takes all the spokes to make the wheel turn. And that they all give us an opportunity on the spokes to see different perspectives, and still we don't have to change our mind. We don't have to become what someone else is, but we can learn from each other. And then sometimes we might completely have a radical awakening or change in consciousness and step onto another spoke on the wheel. You know, as I said, I'm looking out at the diversity of the mountains here, and in that diversity, the amount, you may not know this, I don't know, but in North Carolina, here in the United States, or un-United States at the moment, but anyway, here's the Indian mountains, in the indigenous world, there's countless flora. It's one of the places in the entire world that has the most amount of, quote, plant medicines of all kinds, from just anything you can think of. There's so many herbal schools here. And so there's the health benefits from all of these different herbs and plants and things, for depression or illness, or has long been known in these mountains. So people come from all over the world, to harvest different medicines here for illness, for health, for preventative, for all kinds of things. So what if we said, well, there can only be one medicine. There can only be one kind of tree here, and it has to be an oak, or it can, can only be a willow tree. There's not space for these foreigners, and
Exactly.
and all these kinds of. But the reality is that this climate here is conducive to incredible multiple diversity, so that it's one of the most well-known places in the world for herbs, for healing herbs and medicines. It's collected. And it's interesting how in Asheville, not too far away from here, that it's become kind of like the new California, or the new San Francisco, like in the 60s and 70s, or like the new Sedona here. There's so many different types of people and things in this little southern town that you just wouldn't hardly know it was a little southern town until you run into some southerners, And so I think it's a beautiful example of how people and animals and creatures, there's a huge amount of diversity of animals and creatures here, butterflies, insects, all kinds of things. And I look at it and it's like, you don't see the trees arguing with one another. You don't notice,
Exactly.
the animals will let you know that that this is their territory. They have their little, but they won't, they don't think the others shouldn't exist,
Right, exactly.
So I was thinking, my gosh, as my grandmother taught me, the smartest beings in the world are the rocks, and because they hold all the wisdom of the world, such as the crystals, the stones, and the second smartest beings on the planet are the plants, because they came after the stones and things, and they have all the medicines that we need, plant medicines. And then after that is the animals and the creatures that evolved. And then she said, kind of the new kids on the block are human beings. And, so, and Grandmother Twala used to say, it'd be nice if human beings evolve into humane beings.
Exactly. That is very beautiful, Star Wolf. We're going to take a very short break, and for everybody out there, just reflect on exactly that. Birches, oak, sage, basil, everything. Earthworms, beautiful butterflies, all together. We'll be back in just a moment.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
With happy clients all over the world, Kara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Kara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Kara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.karajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for
summer break because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Voice Rising. If you're enjoying today's conversation, share it with a friend and take a moment to double check that you're subscribed to the channel, Om Times channel. We also have archives available of every show. It's quick, it's easy, it's free, and it helps us to continue to bring amazing guests and their wisdom to you. I very much appreciate your support. And so now let's welcome back Star Wolf. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So share with us a little bit. You work with something that you've coined shamanic breath work, and it plays a key role in your work with people. Can you share with us a little bit more about how shamanic breath work works, I guess, what happens? Besides breathing.
Well, well, they say there's only, a couple things we have to do, and that is live and die. But I would say that the third thing that we have to do is every few seconds we have to take a breath.
Yeah.
And it's, it seems to me, I feel like that God has sometimes a wicked sense of humor, and it says, we're made from the breath. It's the first thing that we do as a human being. It's our first actual thing that we do as a human being. They used to show in the old movies, they pull the baby out and slap it on the butt. What a weird thing. But I understand it was also trying to get the child to take a breath, and really fully breathe. But there's other ways to do things.
There's other ways, right?
To the slap them mode,
Maybe give them a big hug.
Yeah, like, hey, sweetheart, make it a little more enticing. But, why don't you take a breath and join us? But anyway, it's the John Wayne method, they call it, United States. Yeah. But anyway, it is the first thing in the outer world as a human being that we do. We take a breath and we say, okay, I'm here. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to become fully human. And it could be argued that we're still star beings until we take that first breath. And of course, the last thing, Kara, that we do is we, open our hearts really big and we just ascend, we leave and exhale. Between our first inhalation and our absolute, exhalation and letting fully go of this life and going back to where we came from, or perhaps even someplace else, who knows, other dimensions, into great mystery. Then in between birth and death, we have something amazing called life.
Yeah.
And with that life, we practice living and dying every moment. We practice birth, life, and death every moment because it's the one thing that we have to do all day long, all night long, every second moment of our life. We are breathing. We don't have to always drink or eat or go to the bathroom or sleep or walk or anything else. But we do have to breathe every, few seconds. We have to continue. And even when we're not, busy taking in a breath, we're busy, if you will, metabolizing that breath and preparing to release that breath. So we're already in the shamanic consciousness all the time of breathing. If we get afraid, our breath changes. If we're having a baby, our breath changes. If we're happy, our breath changes. If we're excited, it changes. If we're making love, it changes. If we're meditating, all these things, seeing something in beauty, and we go, seeing something that's horrible, there's this way that the breath, I believe that the spirit rides upon our breath, that God is, whatever you believe about that, great mysteries, the way it stays in touch with us is through the breath, that it lives through us. And, so there's nothing to fear really about death, because when we exhale, then it's just, God is great spirit, inhaling us back into itself, preparing us for our next experience of whatever that's going to be. But here as human beings, the breath is so obviously the map, that it takes a while to figure it out sometimes for consciousness. And that's why the great masters in India and all around the world meditated and practiced the yoga and the science of breath, like Paramahansa Yogananda and others. It's why the contemplatives in the synagogues and the mosque and the churches and the ashrams, all, what do? Practice breathing. Yeah. And what is, and it's like the secret that's in right underneath your nose. And so for me, being one who had some birth trauma, being one who actually had a near-death experience on some recreational substances as a teenager at college and being revived, things like that. I've had some other near-death experiences as well. There's a whole way in which the breath came after me. It's what it feels like. It feels like, and I believe that just like a chicken comes and lays eggs, it's like Star Wars came here to breathe, and so I feel like it was always going to be my dharma to struggle with breath, to learn about it in all its different ways, to teach about it, and to eventually look and see that breath itself is probably the biggest health choice that we can make, is to work with our breath. And I know that with sound and with music and those sort of things, to use the breath to make noise, to use the breath to be silent, to use the breath to calm down the nervous system. And I'm a very excitable person, so I really need the breath to just help me, on the other side of my excitement, to really rest and metabolize. And that's one of the beautiful things of being here in the mountains and breathing in the breath of this moisture all around me is very good for my lungs. It's very good for my heart. It's very good for my soul. So as I went through my own journey with learning about the breath, and it was a fertile, era, like I said, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, of more and more people as Eastern traditions came over, and the Beatles, and, once the Beatles were doing meditation and breathing, everybody wanted to do it. But that was just such a fertile ground. And then going through my own challenges in different areas, as we frequently do, especially when we're younger, and figuring out a little bit more of who we are at that time, and then through the years. Everything has always led me back to the breath. That, yes, I take vitamins. Yes, there's all kinds of, as they call it now, hacks. Not really fond of that word, health hacks, but I don't know.
Sounds like the slap that the baby gets, right? The hack.
I know.
Sounds like that. So little loving, nurturing rituals that you have with vitamins
Right.
and
Thank
good
you.
food and
Yes,
yeah.
those kind of things. Yeah, let's just call it something else. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll
But
figure
anyway, we'll figure it out hopefully someday. But anyway, it just became a passion for me to really heal myself. I had a lot of allergies. That's one of the things in the shaman's world is that it's the belief that you take on the illnesses for humanity in a certain sort of way, even though it's very individualized, and that you learn to heal it. And when you learn to heal it, it then becomes your responsibility, because you now have the ability to respond, to assist others on that journey. And so you're not above or below someone, you're with them because you empathize and you understand and you have the wisdom that they're seeking that's already within them that you just help wake up. Mm-hmm. So for me, once, I got bit by that bug, so to speak, I've never turned back because it just opened me up. It's like I had a way bigger conscious awakening than I did even on the psychedelics that I did all those years ago. It's like I had a conversion, if you will, like kind of in the Baptist church, like when I was a little girl and got saved. I had a conversion, and in that conversion, the Linda Star Wolf that used to be really shape-shifted, and that shape-shifting was I had understandings that I had not had before. I had, my own enlightenment. Not that it's a lasting state, because you still have to chop wood and carry water every day of your life. But it still resolves within. It still is inside you. There's an evolution of consciousness that is really activated at pivotal times in your life. And so, through my own struggles, mainly, to be honest with you, through my own struggles, it's caused my awakenings. And those awakenings have always brought me back to the breath. When that happened for me, I had to make some decisions in my life about, this is going to look weird to my parents, nobody's going to understand. My mother used to say to me, we sent you to college, we did all this stuff, and now you're going to go out and make a living breathing people? Who's going to pay? Who's going to pay to breathe? To this day, my mom's 94. She's just she's from the South, and she'll say, "Do you know that Linda charges people to breathe?" And she'll say, "And they pay her, and they fly from all around the world." She cannot take it in. But she's not critical anymore. She just can't grasp that people would actually pay me to breathe. So it's quite funny, and I understand. I appreciate my mom. When I get, as we'd say in the South, too highfalutin, she'll bring me right back down home. But the beautiful thing about breathwork for me has been, Kara, is I've had the golden opportunity to breathe, quote, with the greats. And for me, that has been Stan Groff with holotropic breathwork when he was first coming out with it, and with his wife at that time, who's now passed and he's remarried, Christina. And in fact, Stan was the first person that ever rebirthed me.
Nice.
And then also with my main teacher, who was really studied with him for several years and helped him develop it in the beginning, which was Jacqueline Small. Jacqueline is about, I guess she's maybe, I can't think how old Jacqueline is right this moment. So I'm guessing she's headed towards 90. But she's an amazing being, and she's written about 12 or 13 books herself about transformation and breathwork and all kind of things, and Rudolf Steiner. And she's a mystic. She's a true Aquarian soul. If ever there was one, she was way ahead of her time. And she was my main teacher with breathwork, and I became a lead trainer with her for many years. And we had an hour and a half conversation the other day, and she's just as sharp as she can be. And this woman inspires me. If you don't know her, if you don't know her books, Jacqueline Small, Southern Belle from Texas, she is just an amazing human being and a true mystic, one of the few that I've ever truly known as a mystic. And it was through her school at Eusychia Institute that I learned so much of what I know now. And then later on, I became good friends with Leonard Orr. And Leonard Orr, of course, is the father of rebirthing. And we spent quite a bit of time together. And in fact, our university awarded, he'd never gotten a degree from a university with a doctorate. And he had breathed probably more people than anybody else in the entire world, millions of people at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And that he said to me, Starwolf, I would really like to have a doctorate degree. And I said, well, I'm allowed to issue a certain amount of honorary doctorate degrees. So he was so proud of it. And we awarded him his doctorate degree from our university in shamanic psycho-spiritual studies. And he and his young wife at that time and his puppy came here, and we had a big graduation for him. And he was already at that time in his 70s, I guess. But anyway, I have been inundated with these incredible masters of breathwork. And then I had this amazing opportunity to be with Grandmother Twilinit to the Seneca Nation. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just, to go on into, but what I will say is between her teachings and many other indigenous elders that I met through her from around the world, and through all these breathwork masters, it just came together. And the shamanism and the breath work came together so that when it was time for me to birth what I was here to bring into the world, it was so clear. It was one moment it wasn't there, and the next moment I found myself saying, this is shamanic breath work. What we're doing is the breath work methods that are, back like all the gurus and throughout the ages and all this sort of thing. But also I'm really using it more, not just as a healing method, but as a sacred ceremony. And we do that consciously. We smudge, we, bring in and call in the directions. There's a whole way we do a ceremony around it, and then take people and create a safe container, and then take people into the breathing journey with facilitation. And when we bring them and body work while they're breathing. And then when they come back, we bring them into a place where they can do their mandalas and their art, to bring their symbols and their messages and not need to verbalize it right away. And then after a little while, to then go into small groups with kindred spirits, and like you're sitting around the campfire, if you will, and that there you're sharing your medicine, you're sharing what you learned or what happened, and you're with a facilitator who can help you put those pieces together for yourself, or to really validate or support or help you make sense of your journey if it just feels like, I don't know what happened, that sort of thing. So there was nothing else to call it but shamanic.
Shamanic breath work.
Shamanic breath work. And so that's how it was born. And that's what I've been doing almost, for close to 35 years. And we've had the golden opportunity to watch a world awaken to the sacredness of two things, shamanism and breath work, to help awaken and ground their consciousness. So I feel extremely, I'm not going to say lucky. I don't really believe in luck, but I do believe in good fortune. And I believe that I have been a fortunate being to have gone through everything that I have, and to have had somewhere along the way the good sense to put the pieces together to bring my gift, if you will, that is, inspired by the Creator and all these beautiful souls I just spoke to you about, and to bring this to the world. And it is what helps me get up every day and do what I do, regardless of what's going on in the outer world. and to know that I have some medicine for people that can assist them in so many areas of their life. And then in addition to that, I've also trained, and my people that I've trained have trained others. So there's many, many people doing this work in the world. And that makes me happy to know that long after I'm gone, that this will continue on with many different teachers and people that we've trained.
Which is kind of how breath works, right? It always blows me away, this thought that no breath is ever gone. I mean, similar to energy, that they really say the breath of Marilyn Monroe, the breath of Gandhi, the breath of anybody who has walked the earth is still there, because we're just exchanging breath like the wind. And it keeps on just moving through us, which, I mean, it's really mind-blowing. And for some strange reason, you kept on saying inspiration, in spirit, right? The word, you were inspired by all these people, but I don't know why it kept on flashing in front of my inner eye. When you said inhale, exhale, suddenly I heard hail, like Hail Mary, to praise. To praise. It's like this is our time to in between the first, you were talking about in between the first inhale and the last exhale. And I kept on hearing, oh, hail, as if it was just very strange. I'd never heard, it's written differently, but I guess sometimes I have you in my ears. And so I was thinking of just praise, and here we are. So in our final moments here, Star Wolf, beyond all the work that you do, and the work is amazing, and like you said, you're very blessed to be able to have integrated everything you've learned and to have shared it with so many people, and you continue to share it with people in trainings and in books. But what is your personal wish for our world right now? What would you love to see this world experience in the next months or year?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because there's someone who, and this is premature, so I can't really give you much details about it, but there's this one woman I know who works with another woman who apparently is a benefactor, and a very wealthy benefactor, who's considering, quote, she wants to create an event that was larger than Woodstock.
Nice.
And she wanted to focus it around breath work and music. And she asked me that if I would come and kind of be the ceremonial opening the gates, energetically, and doing breath work. And I just thought, here I am, full cycle, back from the 60s and 70s, if they really do it, if they really create this place in Colorado to have a larger group, the largest group ever assembled. And if what we did was music and breath work, it'd be 3 days of, love and music, and nothing but love and music, and I'd say 3 days of breath work and music.
That is a spiral path, right? That would make sense. The spiral path. It's like Woodstock, and then what were you talking about? The octave, right?
Right.
So the Woodstock hits the next octave, the spiral returns. There you go.
There it is. And it's just so, I don't know, there was just something about that felt full circle for me, and I mean, I've been sober for 43 years in March, and I got sober at 29 years old. So, it would be a very different experience than being at the festivals of the past, and so, one other quick thing is, right now we have all these amazing facilitators around the world. And one of them yesterday said, our motto is, one breath, one tribe, one love. And it has the wolf in the center. And she sent me this wonderful video. She's at a festival, hundreds of people. And this is Jane is her name. And she led a big festival instead of, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I'm sure there was some of that. But it was mainly breath work and music and healing. Nice. And I thought, that's an evolution. And she sent me the video with all these people, and they had just finished doing shamanic breath work with Jane and some other facilitators there. And they had a wonderful man there doing kirtan. And So they, were breathing, and they were singing and sending the energy to me and to Breathwork around the world. And the only thing they were saying was, one breath, one tribe, one love, whoa. One breath, one tribe, one love, whoa. And I said to her, I reached back out to her in New Zealand. I said, I want you to know that I'm crying, and that, please, please, please share that mantra and that song around the world. They decide to make it into a mantra and take it everywhere they're going. So there's, that little hippie inside of me, little hippie girl, has gotten to, see her dreams come true in so many ways. And yet, there's so much work that's still to be done. But we must take time for love and music and magic along the way.
Those are the last words today, and they're one breath, one tribe, one world, and take time for breath, magic, love, many blessings. Starwolf, thank you so much. For everybody out there, go pick up Starwolf's new book, The Aquarian Shaman, Walking the Spiral Path of Transformation, and share this episode with friends. And until the next time, next time I'll have Nancy Aroni with me here talking about creative writing. So many blessings to you, Starwolf. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.